I wanted to share with you all these moon spiders I've built. But before that, I have to tell a bit of a story. I was working on a video that was going to be Kerbal on the Steam Deck, and that might still come, but I ended up having some trouble extracting the videos off of the Steam Deck. Anyhow, I went back to the computer. Because I was playing on the Steam Deck, I really slimmed it down to as few mods as possible. I think right now I only have the mechanical Jebediah mod. And especially on the Steam Deck, the autopilot is super handy. Over the course of this video, I'm going to show you my little moon base and the vehicles that I've built. I've been having a blast just landing things on the moon. I did some surface construction, which I've never done before, for mixed results, but it was really fun. This little thing I've been calling the Spider. It's basically a moon crane with a living cabin and a cockpit. It can seat 6 people, and it's pretty robust, as you see here. I've not been gentle with these things. I'm pretty happy with this design overall. Its main function is to be able to deliver payloads to the surface, cargo like rovers and different modules, and I figured a good place to start was building a refinery so I can harvest some ore and then use that ore to make tons of fuel and have a fuel depot on the moon and another in orbit of the moon. My apologies for the flickery textures on the surface. I don't know what was going on. I tried all sorts of different video settings, and after this play session, I ended up going back to some visual enhancement mods like Eve and cloud effects and stuff. Uh, and it fixed the issue. So, anyway, apologies for this video having a little bit of flickery surface stuff going on. I'm so extremely pleased with this lander and how it handles and operates, and it's fantastic. But now I need to fly in some more infrastructure. Testing with my fuel refinery discovered that it actually needs replaced. So this is an upgraded new fuel refinery, and then I'll need to bring a car that can do gas and a car that can do storage of ore, and I think I'll be set. A little derpy design side effect is I can actually drive the lander around the moon with the rover, thanks to the low gravity. Hey, it works. New refinery's finally here. Let's give it some room to breathe and deploy it. The main reason I replaced the refinery is I had this epiphany like, why do I keep designing new vehicles? Let's just use the rover body and just slap different equipment on it, and it will cut down the building time considerably, and then I already know the craft is proven and works. And this philosophy mostly paid off. Mostly paid off. I chose the wrong wheels. Or maybe there's something with the Kerbal wheels that I'm not understanding. I set their traction all the way up, but they just slide around like I'm on an ice field, and I think I just picked the wrong wheels. I think these are like big solid like earth ground wheels or Kerbin ground wheels, but I should have gone with the more ribby, like lightweight wheels for the light gravity. That's my hunch, so I think I might redesign this or something similar someday with different wheels. The new refinery is deployed and mining, doing a good test here on how well it does, and I'm sipping through the power, so I definitely need to bring more power. So I think I'll make a module that does just ore and power. And so then I'll have my ore power modules and my little fuel truck, and that should be good. Maybe more little fuel cars. Now my space program game turns into a gas delivery game, and I'm gonna go fuel up all my buddies. So rover to rover, I use the docking claw on a extending arm from the robotics parts, so I don't have to be as precise with my docking, and it's a lifesaver to not have to like match up docking ports on the surface, which is doable. I've done it. It's just even more tedious. And with these tires, it's very tedious to get this thing to slide over anywhere the right way. And I'm kind of editing a lot of it out because it doesn't come across really in the video that it was just really hard to control. So I developed this method of just slamming on the brakes and sliding into place and then just trying to slide straight back to dock. And of course, I could dock to the refinery with the arm. Just in my past experience, I've seen some Kraken attacks when you load up stuff with complicated robotic parts happening. And so I like to have the extendo arm just an extra thing if I'm going to leave it unattended. Speaking of leaving it unattended, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this video. because I would like to get traction on here and more regular posting. I need your motivation. Help motivate me. So I play a lot of Kerbal Space Program. I think I have like 8,000 hours on Steam, and I know I've played it elsewhere on like PlayStation and stuff like that. So I've played so much Kerbal Space Program that it's probably unhealthy. But here I am again, playing more Kerbal Space Program. I think it's just that you can make it into whatever game you want. Like right now I'm starting to get bored of playing Fuel Delivery Man, but then I'm just going to go design a new vehicle or play Rocket Man or do a different game. Like it's so many games in this game. And that's what I love so much about it. I try to be fairly mindful about how long these Kerbals have been on the moon, and I know they love to be in space, but I ship them back on a regular basis, so we're on our way home. I have the Firefly reentry mod, so there's more intense reentry effects. And I'm also time warping, so this thing is just a fireball. So I made an interesting decision with this video, and I didn't record any of the game audio because I was watching YouTube in another window on the other monitor. And let me know in the comments if you missed the game audio, because sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm really on the fence, because there's other ways that I could achieve the same thing. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you missed the game audio or if you don't care. Alright, now the next order of business is I'm sending up a fuel car that's also a battery car. I've also upgraded my launch vehicle so I can get rid of some space debris, which is a best practice. Now we sail off to the moon in this kind of lather, rinse, repeat of building a lunar colony, where I'm just escaping Kerbin's gravity well and then falling into the moons and landing on it. I think I want all the ore cars just in a line out the front of this thing, so I'm going to try to put the fuel car on the side here if it'll let me. You can save yourself a lot of time docking with the claw, but I just don't trust it to leave it attached to the lunar base, so I'm going for a real docking port. Another flight, another ore car, another spider on the moon. I'm going to have to start sending some of these back soon. It's getting cluttered down here. But we're on the way to making a ton of fuel. I've got my fuel car, I've got my ore cars, I've got plenty of electricity. One of my big goals with this save file was to reuse as much stuff in the field as possible. Building stuff to have multiple purposes, like all my injection stages are also relays or surface scanners or space station cores, but also exploring modifying vehicles in the field, which I've barely done. They added this feature to Kerbal right near the end of development, and I've just really not played with it much. With an engineer Kerbal, you can press the I key and actually do some builder operations in the real game in real time. All of the parts to build these towers were inside the ore cars in these white containers. It's really bizarre. It blows my mind. I'm only scratching the surface with the engineer Kerbal. Time to clear some spiders off the moon, so I'm sending a crew back. I got a little time warp happy and didn't separate the vehicle until they were well into the atmosphere going super fast. And it got me thinking, I wonder how it would survive just trying to land the whole ship. And so, shipping the next crew back, that's exactly what I tried, and it held up a lot better than I expected. I did use the engines and whatever fuel I had left to try to decelerate as I came through the atmosphere, but a lot more of the spaceship than I would have figured survived re-entry and actually made it to the surface. Might be something here for the next version. I mean, you throw some landing legs on here, maybe some kind of deployable heat shield or something, or some way to weight it down different. There's something here that's potentially reusable. Back on the moon, the refinery's looking great. Got lots of extra ore storage and importantly batteries and solar power and radiators, so I can actually keep mining and keep producing fuel. I don't need to pause and start and stop, so now the only bottleneck I'm hitting is I don't really have anywhere to store my processed fuel. Like I can bring the fuel truck, I can refine the fuel, I can load the fuel truck, but it would be really nice if I could just drive the fuel truck over and top it off. So, next objective is a giant fuel tank. How I decided to go about designing my giant fuel tank is I just took the largest fuel tank in the game and I put the exact same fuel tanks and engines that I use for landing my spider lander, and I just stuck them on the side. I added a few things like docking ports and an observation area at the top of the tank, and my thought was is if I just sent it to the moon totally empty, it should be able to land with just the regular lander engines and legs I've been using, which should mean compatibility for everything. Landed the giant booster on the moon. Kind of makes me wish it had engines big enough with a good enough thrust to weight ratio that I could actually fuel it up and launch it off somewhere, but that wasn't the design. It's just designed to stay here forever, so now it's a building. And now I just need to move my existing mining stuff over to it, and I figure I'm just going to put the ore carts on one side and the refinery on the other, and then leave two available ports for fuel trucks, and that should be pretty much the refinery. That should be complete. Then I ran into a little hiccup. For whatever reason, the docking ports were slightly too low for my vehicles, but thankfully I could just take an engineer, run over there, use the in-game building abilities, the engineering mode or whatever, to just slide the docking ports up a little bit with the move tool. It's super rad, because in the past that would have meant flying a whole new mission just because of misplacing a docking port a little bit, or like surface gravity and how much the shocks are going to drop the vehicle down, or it's so nice. Anyhow, I move my refinery over to a docking port, find it a nice parking spot, and there you go. I've got a complete brand new refinery with a huge amount of fuel I can stockpile and just leave here on the moon. Next flight, I'm going to bring up another storage car with some repair kits on board so I can fix some solar panels and radiators and stuff like that. And just having repair kits on the moon is probably a good idea. I've barely showed off this launch vehicle, so check this out. This is my heavy launch vehicle. It uses 3 SRBs. It was originally designed to launch my Spider lander as well as a, a deep space vehicle with the return vehicle stacked on top of it and just a giant stack. But this is the more real version where it's slimmed down to just be whatever heavy payload I have, because I don't need to send a return vehicle every time now. The injection stage itself has 3 mainsail engines. It's purposefully overbuilt because I want to use all this hardware for Duna. Once again, I'm hitting a point where my base is just overloaded with spider landers, so I'm going to have to start sending people home again and just removing some of these landers. Each one of them has a relay antenna, so in the spirit of my space program of everything being reusable in the field, each one of these can just go to a different spot and just sit there and be a relay antenna. So I figure I'll send one to Minmus, I'll land one on Minmus, maybe even send one to Duna, because now that I can refuel these things, I can really go up and down with like an elevator. I can go up and retrieve packages from orbit of the moon and bring them down to the surface. We're just getting rolling here. It's a really good little moon crane. I'm really happy with it. It is a little tedious to have to move the lander out of the way, but it's not that big of a deal, and especially now that I have infinite gas down here. Here's my gigantic fuel depot, and now the name of the game changes into Repair Stuff Game. So EVA, and I'm going to fly around and repair stuff. Jeweler Kerman would seem to find himself to be a bit of an acrobat. He's a little cavalier, son. You've got to reel it in. He ends up actually causing quite a bit of damage in a minute here. But I just basically was jetpacking around and scouting out where my resources are and what parts I've got to fix what. And then I thought, I built that safety rail around the top of that fuel tank, figuring that people would want to hang out there and see the view or inspect it or whatever. And so I thought I'll just land there and check it out. I'm already right here. And then Jeweler misjudged the distance and whoops. Well, that's what he gets. He's out here to repair stuff, and now he's got more work to do. Just more of those repair kits to use, right? It's a happy accident. Now I've got a crew picking up a store car that I'm going to drive around to all these landers, and I'm going to grab the cargo out of them. Because each one I've packed parts up here, but I don't remember which ones have cargo in them and what even I sent up here, so it's going to be a bit of a scavenger hunt. So I need to run around in engineering mode to see what the cargo is. So like this one has a bunch of repair kits in it. Cool, so now I drive over here and load up repair kits. So along with the surface construction, the other system I never really played around with that much is the actual cargo, like putting parts and stuff inside of parts and bringing them to the surface here. So this whole thing is kind of new to me. It's super fun and interesting. It gives you something to do when you're at the location. So Definitely going to have to expand on this more in future games. I was getting a little impatient, and so I started throwing cargo out on the surface, which apparently you can just drop stuff onto the surface and the parts will just sit around. You might have noticed some metal plates on the ground earlier. Anyway, I don't know what happened. There was some sort of glitch, and one of the docking ports I'd left just sitting on the ground all of a sudden ended up like way high up in the air, just like, and I guess there's not air, way high up anyway, and it was just falling. So I don't know what happened there. Weird Kraken. Be gentle, Kraken. Next objective was clearing out some spiders, so I thought I'd send some up to be relays and send one to Minmus. So off to Minmus with you, Spider. One of the other cool things with the Spider Lander is that it's got a huge cabin for 4 people and then a cockpit for 2 people, and there's some living space in there too. Like there's a decent amount of space to have reasonable living conditions. So I'd never really thought too much about it, but between play sessions, I started thinking how nice it would be to have a large colony down there, like a large habitat where you could have multiple private spaces, but you could also like go between them easily without having to go on EVA. And so I sent a test vehicle, and that one successfully performed all of its duties. And I've got a pretty cool little trailer design that I'm going to show you. After the test article proved out, I sent this stack of 3, so I can just fly spiders up and grab them one at a time and land and refuel. It's pretty great. Well, here we come back for another house. Looks like there's 2 more left on the stack. So I'm going to grab house number 3 and take a third house down to the surface. The other 2 were landed, I suppose, off camera. And I want to show you the cool little trailer aspect of this thing. The vehicle itself is designed so there's a crew quarters for 4 people and then 2 individual personal cabins on the second floor. There's also airlocks on every side so you can build structures out of it. But I had to think about how I was going to move it around the surface, and my first thought was I'll make it a trailer for my rover to haul around, which it can do. And I decided I was just being creative, I guess, but I built it at like a weird like 35-degree angle, so the trailer hitch is actually sticking out the side. I had a pretty good hunch that I could use aircraft landing gear and monopropellant thrusters to skate around the moon, and it totally works. So I don't even really need the rover. Each one of these modules can self-install itself just with monopropellant and just rolling around. The next bit was recorded after I reinstalled the visual enhancement mods. We've got various cars for refining ore, the giant fuel tank, the processing facility in a car. We've got a fuel car we can use for delivery. We've got a couple of rovers. We've got a bunch of these spider landers that are habitats and ascent vehicles, descent vehicles, cranes all in one. We've got a habitat, a nice hab module that can easily house like 10 to 15 people comfortably with plenty of living space. Things are looking good here. Thanks so much for watching and all the way to the end. Tune in again, hopefully not in 10 months, but I'll post another video again. So keep an eye on the channel, subscribe, like, it does help, and motivate me to make a video quicker. Alright, well, until next time, everybody.